Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 premier skins I want to see for Green Lantern in Injustice 2. Now I understand from the last video, you guys wanted to see more somewhat different characters, instead of different skins and stuff you could see for them. So from this point onwards, when I make Injustice 2 lists, I won't be linking it to any more skins, but instead people who have donned the same mantle they have. Which is quite lucky when you think about this video, as there have been a lot of people who have wielded the Green Lantern ring, or are Green Lantern related. I will say for this list that anyone who kind of wields a power ring is susceptible to actually appearing here, and everyone who's featured on here isn't in really any particular order, except number 1 because I really want to see this happen. Now just to clear this one thing up and consider this a very quick honorable mention, I'd like to feature Jessica Cruz here. The reason why she won't feature on this top 5's list is because NRS has recently confirmed that there won't be any kind of gender switching kind of premier skin, as by them doing this it actually tampers with the character's hitboxes and changes them up completely. So unfortunately she won't be featured here in this top 5s, although if I did have a say she would actually be here. Now on that note, let's actually get on to the video. At number 5 we have Power Ring. Now for those of you who don't know who Power Ring is, he's pretty much a parallel version of Hal Jordan. His actual name is in fact Harold Jordan, so you can tell they weren't too creative with him. Unlike Hal, who's completely based on willpower, Harold is just kind of a bitch. And in fact this fuels his ring. You see, the ring that he wears isn't the traditional kind of Green Lantern ring. It's called the Ring of Volthoom, and it actually drains the user of its life when they are in fear. So it works much like a vampire in that aspect. Now since Harold is always terrified, the ring is always strong. Although it may be killing him, he is surprisingly strong. At least until he came up against Sinestro and had his arm ripped off. Now this doesn't need to be a serious skin. If anything, due to his cowardly personality, I would expect a much more humorous take on this character. But I'm not that intrigued by this character, as he only featured in the Crime Syndicate storyline and wasn't fully exposed, so I would switch him out for a lot of other characters here. Anyway, at number 4 we have Guy Gardner. Now although Guy Gardner isn't one of the most popular Green Lanterns around, probably due to that mullet haircut. I mean, Jesus, look at that. Anyway, back on topic, Guy Gardner has been a staple of the Green Lantern Corps. Though he hasn't been the most popular of all of the Lanterns, he certainly had a very intriguing backstory and has been around for an extremely long amount of time. Now I know that Guy's currently dead in this universe, but if John Stewart can come back as a skin, why not Guy Gardner? Plus there'd be some really interesting character moments between himself and Hal, since it was Hal Jordan who had in fact killed him whilst under the influence of Sinestro and his Yellow Lantern Corps. So I'd expect to see some very kind of awkward moments between the two if there was a mirror match, if you can kind of call it a mirror match. Now I could see Guy actually returning as either a Green Lantern or as a Red Lantern, as I'm well aware that in the comics he did in fact become a Red Lantern for a while. I don't know if he's still one now, but from the last time that I checked, he was one. So yeah, I'd like to see Guy involved in this game in some form of way, even with his dumb mullet haircut. Now at number 3, and it's a bit of a tie here as I found it very hard to choose one over the other, Saint Walker and Green Lantern Sinestro. Now I do like Saint Walker. I in fact think he's a very cool character, and there'd be some very interesting conflicts between himself and Atrocitus, as the two are at the opposite end of the spectrum, no pun intended, in terms of what can kind of go on between the two, because anyone who wields a blue ring of power can essentially neuter the Red Lantern's power. So that would make for some interesting character interaction. Now as much as I'd like to see this, there's a lot of problems in terms of gameplay. Blue Lantern's powers don't work the exact same way that Green Lanterns do. Sure, they can create constructs and stuff, but they have a few more tools to their arsenal, such as self-duplication, phasing, the list honestly does go on. And I know they've mentioned in the tower that when you do change premier skins, Green Lantern constructs do in fact change, but will it quite go to the level that it would actually change a lot about Green Lantern if he were to become Saint Walker? That's my main problem. As much as I'd like to see this character, I don't really see it happening, but it would be cool. As for Green Lantern Sinestro, this one's quite cool, but I'm also extremely conflicted about it. Now much like Hal at the end of the original Injustice game, he was brought before the Guardians to pay for his crime. Now Hal, from what we can obviously see, is on a mission to redemption, as he has sided with the insurgency for Injustice 2. So what's the possibility that the same thing can't be done to Sinestro? Sure, the character has been a bad guy and has been responsible for creating the Sinestro Corps, but from what we know from Hal Jordan's experience is that fear can actually corrupt the user and blind them into doing things that are really out of character. But this is also where my problem is with him. You see, in the main comics, the Sinestro Corps waged war against the Green Lantern. Of course this happens on a normal basis, but here the Green Lanterns lost, and many of them were massacred by the Sinestro Corps or by Sinestro himself, who was inadvertently kind of responsible for having Guy Gardner killed and actually killing John Stewart himself. Though this character is most likely beyond redemption, but as a skin, I can kind of see this happening. If we remove the whole kind of story arc of him killing everyone and just simplify him as a skin, I could see it working. Especially with some of the awkward and kind of hilarious character moments I can kind of see between him and Superman, because Superman cannot stand Sinestro. He once backhanded him across the entire planet. That's a really hard pimp slap. But anyway, that's kind of been my number 3 for this list here. Now at number 2 we have Kilowog. Now much like Gardner, Kilowog's in fact dead, killed by, surprise surprise, Sinestro. However, I go back to my argument about Jon Stewart being in the game, so at this point anything's kind of a possibility. Now I would like to see Kilowog in this game. I think it'd be really cool to kind of see him finally appear in a game as a playable character, because he's a very kind of physically imposing person. Despite the whole kind of pig face, the guy's built like a tank. As well, the guy doesn't look like the most majestic Green Lantern. Plus Kilowog is quite popular, and it would be really interesting to see him kind of bring that physicality to Injustice too. I also do like how he's kind of a mentor figure towards Hal, so that could make some very interesting kind of character dialogue between the two. Now at number 1 we have Kyle Rayner, except when he comes back he isn't a Green Lantern but is in fact a White Lantern. Again, he is dead, but Jon Stewart argument insert here. Now I do actually see this happening. As well, I always do welcome another Lantern character into the game, and well, Kyle didn't start off being a White Lantern. He was originally a green one and was later able to obtain the White Ring. This in turn led him to being considered as one of the purest beings of the universe. Now I just think it would be really cool to see this character here, and I'd want to kind of see the disgust from Kyle as he'd learned like what happened whilst he was gone / killed, and what he's kind of come back home to. Hopefully not a girlfriend cut up into pieces in a refrigerator. That was pretty messed up. But no, it'd be very interesting to see the character dialogue between himself and Hal if he were to kind of make it into the game, seeing as Hal was responsible for Gardner's death and was temporarily with the Sinestro Corps, who are kind of like the sworn enemy of the Green Lantern Corps. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this top 5s list, guys. Now please put down in the comments below who you'd like to see me talk about next, as well as which kind of Green Lantern Premier skin would you like to see in the game. Like, all movesets aside, out of any Lantern character you could have in this game, who would you have it be? Larfleeze, Star Sapphire, Saint Walker? Honestly, just go crazy in the comments below. Now I have something very cool to tell all of you guys. I in fact was able to interview PND Ketchup a few days ago, as he had in fact got his hands on Injustice 2 early at Insomnia 60. The interview will be going up tomorrow and will detail a lot of stuff about Wonder Woman, Dr. Fate, Swamp Thing, and many other characters. Please do keep an eye out for it. It's a rather long interview, but will give you guys a lot of insight about Injustice 2. Now, if possible guys, let's try getting this video to roughly about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel, as YouTube it's broken at this point. I can't emphasize how broken it is. Maybe I can. Broken. Anyway, as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.